noted. Yes, Mr. Rowe.
May it please the court, my lady and learned assessors, the defense calls Mr. Johan Stander. My lady, whilst the witness makes his way to the witness dock, he has raised with me his objection to visual images of his testimony being broadcast.
Yes. So you want me to make an order to the effect that no visual images are allowed?
Indeed.
Yes, I so make it.
As the court pleases.
The witness may be sworn in.
Sir, please state your full name, Mr. Greyford.
Johan Stander?
Do you have any objection taking the prescribed oath?
No.
Do you consider the prescribed oath to be binding on your conscience?
Yes.
If so, do you swear that the evidence about the gift shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
If so, raise your right hand and say, so help me God.
So help me God.
God, Mrs. Swanee.
Thank you very much. You may take a seat if you so wish, Mrs. Stander.
Thank you, my lady.
Yes, Mr. Ulrich.
Mr. Stander, what is the address at which you reside?
My lady, it's 212 Summerbrook Close, Silverwoods Estate.
And for how long have you resided at this particular address?
Since May 2009.
Do you know our client, Mr. Oscar Pistorius, to the extent that you got to know him on a more personal level?
Yes, I do, my lady. When we moved in, a gentleman arrived at our house and he offered to assist us in moving our furniture into the house, and that's how I met Mr. Pistorius.
And do you recall more or less when that was?
That was 9th of May 2009.
Mr. Stander, is it correct that with reference to the incident which is the subject matter of these proceedings, you were approached by the South African Police Services for a statement regarding what you knew about the incident of 14 February 2013?
That's correct, my lady.
And what happened pursuant to you having been approached for a statement?
After the incident, I wrote a statement. The investigating officer, Mr. Botha, visited my house. We discussed the statement. He accepted the statement on the 15th, I think, of February. And he said if they require any further information, they will ask for an additional statement.
So if I understand your evidence correctly, you were requested to furnish a statement which you then prepared. Is that correct?
That's correct. I wrote that statement. Yes.
You wrote the statement?
Yes.
And what happened to that statement? The original of that statement?
That statement was taken by the investigating officer when he visited me on the 15th of February.
Now, subsequent to you having furnished that statement, were you requested, as you've testified here today, you offered any further or additional information? Were you requested to furnish a further statement?
Yes, Captain van Aert approached me and he asked for further statement. We then arranged, my daughter was in contact with her advocate, and she discussed it with him, and he suggested we have the interview in his rooms with Captain van Aert, and Captain van Aert, myself, and the advocate was sitting in his room. Captain van Aert had a list of questions. He asked the questions, and subsequently to that, the second statement was put together and submitted to the state.
And were you satisfied with the contents of that second statement as containing all the relevant information that you were able to furnish the police?
Yes, my lady.
Now, this advocate that you say you consulted with in preparation of this statement, who is he?
It's Advocate Boot.
Boot.
Correct, my lady.
Mr. Stander, subsequent to having furnished both these statements, did you consult with the prosecution in this matter?
Yes, I did, my lady.
Do you recall when?
Yes, my lady, it was December 2013. We had a consultation with the prosecution at my house.
At that time, when you consulted with the prosecution, did you regard yourself as a witness for the prosecution?
That's correct, my lady. Captain van Aert said I'm going to be a state witness. And yeah, I considered myself a state witness at that stage.
Having been told that you were going to be called as a witness for the prosecution in this matter, and we of course now know that you were not called by the prosecution, my question to you is this, sir. Do you know why it is that the prosecution elected not to call you?
My lady, there was a second consultation arranged with my daughter and with myself in January this year. And at that particular day, Advocate Johnson, I think, she arrived before the prosecutor, Advocate Nell, and she then indicated to me that Advocate Nell decided not to call me because the decision was that they will only call one person per family as a state witness.
Is it then correct that what you inferred from that was that your daughter would be called?
That's correct, my lady.
Mr. Stander, where were you during the early morning hours of 14 February 2013? Around about 0300 hours. Do you recall?
I was at my house, in my bed, asleep, my lady.
Now, prior to the incident, which will in most part be the subject matter of your evidence, did you on any occasion visit the home or attend thereat of our client, Mr. Pistorius?
Yes, my lady, Mr. Pistorius, when he participated overseas, he sometimes asked me to look after his dogs, his pets at his house and feed them.
Can you tell the court approximately how far from your residence Mr. Pistorius's home is situated?
My lady, driving with a car is about 1 minute, a little bit more or a little bit less, depending, and approximately 350, 400 meters by road.
Very well. Would you please, step by step, explain to the court what happened during the early morning hours of 14 February 2013?
My lady, I received a phone call around about 0318, but I believed, according to the telephone logs, it was actually 0319. I received a call from Mr. Pistorius, and he said on the call, Johan, please come to my house, please. I shot Riva. I thought she was an intruder. Please come quick. I stood up. My wife woke up as well. I walked out, opened the door, and when I was walking out of the room, my daughter came out of her room. And she said she just heard somebody screamed for help. My wife told my daughter, yes, it was must be Mr. Pistorius. He called your dad and said he shot Riva. My daughter and I then decided to go to Mr. Pistorius' house as quickly as possible. We left the house. My daughter was driving the car. We arrived at the house. She parked the car in the street, and the two of us was rushing to the front door. The front door was slightly open, and there was a light burning. My daughter was in front of me. She pushed the door open, and we saw.
You'd have to slow down.
The door was slightly open. My daughter was in front of me. She pushed the door open, and we saw Mr. Pistorius coming down the stairs with Riva in his arms. I could see she had a head wound. And when Mr. Pistorius saw us,
Just yes, you could start. You could see.
when Mr. Pistorius saw us, there was a relief on his face. When he reached the bottom of the stairs, I think my daughter asked him to put Riva down. He kept on asking us. He was crying. He was really crying.
You kept on?
He was really crying. He was in pain. And he asked us to please assist him. To put Riva in a car and take it to the hospital.
Mr. Stander, sir, if you're emotional, take your time.
My daughter asked him to put Riva down on the floor. He did. We tried to calm Mr. Pistorius down. He was broken. He was screaming. He was crying. He was praying. I then spent some time trying to calm him down, have a look at Riva. Carice, my daughter, was there. I said to Oscar, Mr. Pistorius, I will go out and call the ambulance. While I was out trying to call the ambulance, a gentleman came walking towards me. He introduced himself as Johan, the neighbor of Oscar staying behind Oscar. He said to me, I asked him to go in. He said to me, he's a medical doctor. I asked him to go in and see if he can assist. I asked him the contact number for the ambulance because I couldn't get hold of them. He gave me the number 082911. Mr. Stip, Johan, as he introduced himself, was walking in. He turned around and said to me, I'm actually a radiologist. And he carried on walking. I then phoned 082911. And I managed to get through. And I was still speaking on the phone when Dr. Stip came out. And I said, I cannot explain. I find it difficult to explain to the people where they must come. They can't understand. And he took the phone. He spoke to them. And after a while, my daughter came out as well. And then she spoke to them as well, explaining to them the address. The ambulance arrived shortly after that. They declared Riva dead. Mr. Stip was with me outside then. Sorry, my late Dr. Stip. I asked him what happened, if he heard anything, because he said he was staying just behind Oscar. He said to me he heard 4 shots, silence, screams, and 4 shots again. And then he mentioned to me that he can't do anything, he's going to leave. I asked him his telephone number to give it to the police if they asked for it. He left. But just before he left, he said to me, Oscar is going up the stairs. Mr. Pistorius is going up the stairs. I saw it, I walked in. I asked, where's my daughter? Where's Oscar going? And she looked up at me and she jumped up and she went up the stairs. She was calling Oscar. And he went upstairs to collect the ID. The ambulance people asked him for ID for the lady. And he went upstairs to collect the ID. She went upstairs, she called him, came back down immediately. And shortly after that, a gentleman introduced himself, arrived there and introduced himself. There was other people coming as well. I don't know who they were. A gentleman introduced himself as Colonel van Rensburg of the police. I explained to him briefly what I understood what happened, and I took him in. And then he took over the scene. That was around about 4 o'clock in the morning. But just before 4 o'clock, around about 3:59, I called Mr. Pistorius' brother and informed him of the accident. I didn't call the police. In the process, the security guard was there and I asked him to radio the gate to urgently get the police. It was just after our call for the ambulance.
Your voice is getting softer. Can you just raise
Sorry,
it a
Mike.
little bit?
I'll try again.
No, that's not an amplifier.
It's a microphone, yeah. Okay,
Yes. Just raise your voice, please.
I will.
Yes.
Can you hear me now? It's better. So I called, just after we called the ambulance, I asked the security guard who was there to radio the gate to call for the police. There was a number of people. I was standing outside. There was a number of vehicles came there, parked there, stopped there, some in civilian clothes, some in police uniform. And whilst I'm standing outside, one could see how the people moving up and down the stairs. And then the police took over the scene. And for the rest of the day, I was outside, never inside again.
Mr. Stander, do you perhaps know at what time the person whom you initially described as Johan arrived at Mr. Pistorius' home?
My lady, I made the call to Netcare around about 3:27. He must have arrived there about 3:26, just before that.
And it's your evidence, sir, as I understand it, for purposes of clarification, that you had given instruction to the security to call the police.
That's
Is that
correct, my
correct?
lady. That's correct, my lady.
This call that was made to the emergency medical services, 082 911, was that call made from your cell phone?
From my cell phone, my lady.
Do you recall the time? Can you be somewhat certain about that time?
I said it was 3:27, 3:28, and the call, if I remember correctly, was about 5 minutes long, trying to explain where the address is, where they must come.
Now, during the period that you remained at the home of Mr. Pistorius, did you have an opportunity to observe him from where you were positioned?
Yes, my lady.
Where were you positioned, Mr. Stander?
Initially in the house, when he came down, spent some time with him. Then just outside the door on the paving, and certain times I went in, saw him. One stage he was in the kitchen side. I saw him there as well. I was in the house. And it's not something that I would like to experience again, my lady. Was that young man walking down the stairs with a lady, with a young woman in his arms. And the scene, you see, the expression on his face, the expression of sorrow, the expression of pain. He's crying. He's praying. He's asking God to help him. It's as if he was torn apart. Broken. Desperate. Bleeding. It's difficult really to describe. And his commitment to save the young lady's life. When he put his finger in his mouth and tried to keep the airway open for him to breathe. How he begged her to stay with him. How he begged God to keep her alive. No. I saw the truth there that morning. I saw it. And I feel it.
Mr. Stander, sir, you would have to raise your voice slightly. It is your evidence that at some stage you observed Mr. Pistorius approach the first floor of his home. Is that correct?
That's correct, my lady.
Can you recall for how long he had been upstairs prior to his return back to the ground floor?
It's difficult to say, for me to say in seconds or minutes. It was not minutes, because when he moved up the stairs, I approached my daughter, I asked, where is he going? She said he's going to get an ID. She jumped up. She walked up that stairs. And while she was on the landing, she called him. And they immediately returned back. So one can go and count the stairs, walking up, walking in. Less than half a minute. 30 seconds, 40 seconds. Couldn't be longer.
Do you perhaps know at what time the police arrived at Mr. Pistorius' home?
I phoned Mr. Pistorius' brother 3:59, and the police arrived there at about that time. And the person why I say the police was a person who introduced himself to me as Colonel van Rensburg. That's the first person that I met as a policeman on the scene.
But you cannot be absolutely certain as to what time that would have been.
No, it's difficult to say.
Mr. Stander, you've also testified that you observed people going up the stairs. I can only assume that you're referring to someone other than our client. Is that correct?
That's correct, my lady.
Do you perhaps know who these people were?
Uniform, my lady.
You've testified Stip when he told you that he was a medical doctor. Do you recall that?
Yes, my lady.
What is it that was communicated between the two of you?
Lying down, have you heard anything? What happened? He just said to me, he heard 4 shots, silence, screams. I also came through the fence. They used a ladder to get up to his house, into the house. And there was a third incident in that street, right in the corner. It's the furthest section away. There was an incident of theft, but it was never reported to the police. The owner didn't want to report it. It was the theft of his TV and electronic equipment, but he never reported it. And then there was another incident in the street where I'm staying, just around the corner, Summerbrook, where people came in. If I can remember correctly, they locked the person who was working in the house in the garage, and they also took the TV and electronic equipment. And that was a couple of the incidents, yes.
I may not have heard your evidence in this regard, but do you know of an incident where a ladder or some similar device was utilized to gain access to a home?
There's one, the second incident in Milkwood Way. That's where they used the ladder to access the home, yes.
Now, to gain clarity,
Lady, may I just object? The reason I'm not objecting to hearsay evidence is just that it's presented not as the truth of it, but just of what this person knows. If that is so, otherwise I object. But I just want to make it clear that by not objecting, I'm not accepting the evidence as it happened.
my lady, to respond very briefly to what Mr. Nell has placed on record, this evidence was introduced on the understanding that the present witness acquired knowledge of these incidents by virtue of the position that he occupied and his knowledge of affairs within the estate. And so these were incidents that were reported, which he has knowledge of. I understand Mr. Nell has a difficulty if he wants to call it hearsay evidence, but the understanding upon which this evidence is premised is that these reports had been made, and he has knowledge of that. That's the basis why I'm introducing this evidence.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Nell, you still want to add something?
I understand it remains hearsay as to the fact that it happened, but it's within this person's knowledge, and he's giving evidence that that was reported to him. As far as that is concerned, that's not it.
Thank you, my lady. Now, Mr. Stander, you make mention of reports of these incidents. But if I understand you correctly, these incidents were reported to the estate management. Is that correct?
Yeah, the security people got an incident book. They wrote up all the incidents, and at the management meetings of the estate, it's been reported, and it's been minuted as well.
And to the best of your knowledge, were these records retained, or was it protocol within the management of the estate to retain such records? Do you know?
Yes, they keep the records, and it's also minuted in the minute book.
Very well. Now, do you perhaps know whether you kept Mr. Pistorius informed of these reported incidents? Do you know?
Yeah, if Mr. Pistorius went away, he came back, he would pop in, have a cup of coffee, and we discuss, and I will explain to him. At one stage, I also said to him, due to all the our concerns in terms of the security, the management committee decided to put up beams right around the perimeter of the estate. Yes, so we did discuss it, and I did discuss it with him.
Mr. Stander, did you know Riva?
Yes, my lady.
Do you know whether at any stage Riva resided at our client's home? In other words, on her own. In other words, not in the company necessarily of Mr. Pistorius.
Yes, my lady, she did. When I met Riva the first time, it was in December. Oscar, Mr. Pistorius visited our house with Riva and introduced Riva to us. And he said he's going to Cape Town now. And if I would be so kind to look after his dogs and pets again, I said yes. And then Riva said, no, it's not necessary. She's prepared to come and stay in his house. And she will feed his pets and look after them. And she did. When he left for Cape Town, she stayed in his house for that period. Up until the 31st of January. Then she came to my house again. And we had a discussion there, and she gave me the keys. So yes, my lady, she did stay in his house.
Mr. Stander, I might refer you to a police photo, number 946. My lady, if I'm not mistaken, it's from Exhibit DD. We might ask for assistance to raise this onto the screen. 946. Just hand that to him. Mr. Stander, can you identify what is depicted in this image?
That's my house, my lady.
And what we see at the top part of this image is the description of the address 212 Summerbrook Close, Silverwoods. And in brackets, from the balcony at the front of house to Oscar's house, 212 meters. Do you see that?
Yes, my lady.
Now, would you agree? One may assume that this is, as the crow flies, 212 meters. Could that be correct?
That would be correct.
Furthermore, at photo 951, now you will note from this image that we have a red and a yellow line that indicates the direction perhaps that one could take to the home of Mr. Pistorius. Can you identify with that?
Yes, my lady.
Can you tell the court on the morning in question which route it was that you took from your home to Mr. Pistorius's home?
The red line, my lady.
And you're certain about that?
Yes.
If we may return to image 946. Do you see the red arrow that's depicted?
Yes, my lady.
What does that show, if you know?
That's the house of Mr. Pistorius. The back side of his house, and that would be the bathroom. that windows that we saw there, that we see there.
And if we return to 951, could you perhaps indicate where on this image, in relation to your home, Mr. Pistorius' home is situated?
Can I point with my finger?
Indeed.
That's his house there.
If we might ask for assistance with the arrow. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I've got nothing further. And your home in relation to this image, can you indicate that?
Is this, now you can't see it very clearly, but it's the second house from the last house there. So it's that house there. Yes.
Mr. Stander, is there perhaps anything else that you wish to add to your evidence? I have nothing further.
No, my lady.
Thank you, my lady. I have no further questions for this witness.
Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Nell?
Excuse the court, lady. Mr. Stander, indeed, whilst you were on the management committee of Silverwoods, the security measures at Silverwoods were increased. Am I correct?
That's correct, my lady.
In fact, you went, the estate increased the height of the walls, perimeter fence. Is that correct?
No, we
What?
didn't
What did you
increase
do?
the height of the walls. We did add additional strands, wire strands. We did add rings to make sure that when people putting obstacles in to move through the fence, that's easier to make contact to send an alarm or code to the control room. And the last thing that we've done is that we put in the estate, put in the beams on top of the walls. That's all, my lady.
When was that done?
That was done, was a process, was done from 2011, 2012, approximately, I think.
Now, you've now testified about incidents, so I just want to test you on the incidents of crime in your estate.
Mm-hmm.
The lady that was tied up in Milkwood Estate, when did that happen?
I can't recall the exact dates, but it was around about 2011, 2012, in that period, I think.
If there's a police report saying it was around about 2009,
Then it's possible.
that's possible.
Mm.
Okay. Now, this incident of the ladder, who was involved? Who was the owner of the house?
It was a Mr. Manilow.
He's a good friend of Mr. Pistorius.
I don't know how
Okay.
well
Don't
they
you know if they're friends?
I don't know. Well,
When did that happen?
also about the same period,
2009.
2010, 2011, I think.
Do you know if that was reported to police?
I can't recall.
But in January 2013, Silverwoods was a safe place to stay in. Would you agree with that?
No, my lady, it's a safe place like an estate, but in the estate, we also say that you cannot also always be sure that you're staying in a 100% safe place.
But in your house, you've got no burglar proofing.
My lady, the rules of the estate is saying if you build there, you're not allowed to put burglar proofing on your house. You can only put it in if it's incorporated in the frame of the house. But you cannot put additional burglar barring on the house.
Yes. So the answer to that question is no, my house did not have burglar.
That's correct, yes.
Now, I'm not inviting hearsay in general, but in this instance I am. Your daughter went to sleep with the balcony door open that night. You know
That's
that?
correct.
She only closed it late in the early morning hours, so she slept with the door to the balcony open.
That's correct, my lady.
And again, I'm not inviting hearsay evidence. You yourself heard no shots on the morning.
That's correct, my lady.
You heard nobody, before you got to the scene, you heard no screams or from anybody.
That's correct.
On the phone call that the accused made to you, you're you're 100% certain of the content of the phone call.
I am, my lady.
And that was?
When Johan, please, please, please come to my house. I shot Reva. I thought she was an intruder. Please, please, please come quick.
Good. Now, when you saw him later at the house, did he talk to you again?
No. The only discussion that we had when I was standing outside and he came out, when to get in the police car, I was standing there, he came and he hugged me and he said to me, "Thank you very much." But during the time on the scene, no. Carice, my daughter, was talking to him. I spoke to him when the colonel came in. I said to him, "It's a colonel, listen, he wants to talk to you." But we had no further discussions, my lady.
When you introduced the colonel to the accused, did he respond? The accused, did he say anything?
No, he didn't say. He just looked and said, if I can remember correctly, just shook his head and said yes.
The way I understand, well, your statement more particularly, is that you and Oscar became friends over the time, you and the accused.
Yeah, we were friends. We know each other. He paid a visit to our house. Yes, my lady.
You went so far in your statement as to say he viewed you as his mentor.
No, my lady, from time to time he would come to my house. Remember, he's 7 months a year, basically away. He would come, have a coffee, and then sometimes he will ask me things like, he would like to, there's one of his team members of the Paralympic team, they battled and he wanted to assist them, and would it be wise, and he wanted to set up a feedlot for them. They've got a farm. And then I discussed with him and I said, it will be a risk. But never had I invited Oscar for dinner at my house or a braai at my house, or we can go out and have a drink. It was never a relationship like that. The house was open. Oscar wanted to come and have a cup of coffee. He came and had a cup of coffee. It was never long discussions. It was never socializing with him as such.
Did you ever see him being armed?
No, my lady.
He never visited your house with his firearm?
No, my lady.
When you visited him at his place, did you see any firearms?
No, I never visited him. I was in his house once. And that's all. I never visited him in a social capacity.
Now, since the incident, do you have any discussion with the accused about the incident?
No, not about the incident. I met him when he had that memorial there. Myself, my daughter attended, but the incidents was never discussed.
And that's the trial of the Paralympian Oscar Pistorius at the North Gauteng High Court in Pretoria.
And you and your daughter
Attended, yes.
What did you discuss with the accused?
Was only, we didn't discuss anything there relating to the incident. It was only a discussion with the pastor that was there and his family members and his friends. But I never discussed the incident. I did ask also, I can remember Stinkler, I asked him, Oscar, can I have a cup of coffee here as well? And he said yes, and he asked his aunt to give me a cup of coffee, and she did.
Now, the incident, was it discussed during the memorial where you were present?
No, not what I know of.
So, am I right in saying then that he spoke to you on the phone, he spoke to you later and he thanked you when the police took him away?
That's correct.
You spoke to him again at the memorial and it was a friendly chat about coffee and so forth?
Yes.
But never again?
Yeah, never again. Until now with the court, when the prosecution was finished, the defense asked me to come in and I met him there, but we didn't discuss anything at the chambers. That's all.
Okay, it's important. You said you didn't discuss anything with him.
Yeah.
What did you discuss with him when you met him again?
We're at the chambers. Nothing.
Yes. Nothing.
No. He was there, just there and he left. And then we had a discussion with the fence, and then we left.
So, and apart from that, no other discussion with him?
No, not what I can recall, my lady.
You said that you thought that if one would fire 8 shots, that would be problematic, and that bothered you.
Yes, he did, my lady, because that was what Dr. Stipp said to me, 4 shots, and then later 4 shots again with the silence and scream in between, and that's all I know, it's 8 shots.
And you never discussed the 4 shots with the accused?
No, never.
You never discussed with the accused what happened, why he fired the shots?
No.
He never said to you, it was an accident?
When he phoned me, he said, I made a mistake.
No, you can't say that. Because we've asked you, we've got your statement. I've asked you just before we started. You said you remember 100%. Why do you want to add things now?
No. He said, when he called me, he said, Johan, please come to my house. Please, please, please. I'm shot Riva. I thought she was an intruder.
Yes. Why do you want to include now that he said he made a mistake?
That was a mistake for me. He said, I thought she was an intruder. It's a mistake.
No, so you see, that's an inference, and that's not a response to my question.
Okay.
Mr. Stander, just respond to my question. He never said to you that he made an accident.
No, he never said that to me.
Why did you want to include, when I asked you that specific question, why did you want to include, he said he made a mistake?
That's, as you said, my lady, it's an inference. If you said it was intruder, it was a mistake.
No, you see, Mr. Stander, I unfortunately have to task you on this. You never said it was an inference. When I asked you, you said, in the phone call, he said to me he made a mistake. I want to know why you said that.
No. It was a mistake that I made now, in what I'm saying.
I'm just going to ask one more question. Why would you make such a mistake? Do you want to assist Mr. Pistorius in his defense, or why would you make such a mistake?
No, my lady, I'm here to give the truth. And I think I gave the truth. what I experienced that morning. And I put it on my statements, first and second statements, and that's it.
You see, we are at a different level now. We're with a different subject. We're with the fact that I'm asking you why you spontaneously wanted to respond that he said he made a mistake. I want a response to that.
Because in my mind, what if the first call that I made was, yes, that was a mistake from his side. He didn't never say to me he made a mistake. That is my understanding.
And this is the last question on this. Why did you then say he said he made a mistake? That's what now all I want you to say is, when you testified, and I asked you a question, you said, the morning he phoned me, he said he made a mistake. I just want to know that.
Because that phone call, I interpret that phone call as a mistake. That's why I said. That phone call, in summary, is, as far as I'm concerned, saying to me, I made a mistake.
The mistake was he wanted to shoot an intruder, but he shot her instead.
Not that he wanted to shoot the intruder.
Why not? Why would you not want to say? He said,
he shot Riva. Mm-hmm. He thought she was an intruder.
What did you think was the mistake?
The fact that he shot her.
So if he shot so why would it be a mistake if he shoot her and he thought she was an intruder? I want to know on your inference why you think it was a mistake. What was the mistake?
The fact that he shot.
No, the fact that he shot. Why would you? You see, Mr. Stander, please let us rather just stick to the facts. Why? How can you, out of that call, say the fact that he shot was a mistake? How do you get there?
He thought she was an intruder.
Yes. He never said, I accidentally shot. He said, Johan, please, 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 come to my house. Please, please. I shot Riva. I thought she was an intruder.
That's correct.
Why did you now want to tell the court that he made a mistake by shooting?
All that I can say, my lady, is if I'm looking at that telephone call and the message through to me, it can be, I can interpret it as he's saying he made a mistake.
That she wasn't an intruder?
No, he said she was an intruder.
Say again?
He said he thought she was an intruder. Exactly what my statement is saying.
Okay. Now, if we carry on, you gave evidence that he was the accused was walking down the stairs with the deceased in his arms.
Mm.
When he saw you, you saw relief on his face. Is that correct? That's your evidence?
Yes.
So there was enough light, enough visibility for you to see the expression on his face being on the stairs.
That's correct, my lady.
So there was enough light in the house when you got there.
Yeah, there was lights on in the house at the bottom, if I can remember correctly.
You say there were lights on?
Yes.
But then it must have been quite visible for you to be able to see him on the stairs coming down.
No, he was coming down the stairs and you could see him with the light, available lights.
Now, did you see the accused make a phone call?
No.
Do you know if your daughter made a phone call from his phone?
Yeah, she called, I think she called Mr. Tavares.
She called Mr.
Mr. Tavares.
Okay.
Now, do you know where she got the phone from?
If I can recall correctly, when I was in the house, the phone was on the counter there, closest to the outside wall of the kitchen. There was a phone lying on the counter there.
On a charger?
I think so. I think so, my lady.
Good. Now let us just deal with this. if you say there was a phone lying in the kitchen on a charger, when did you see it there? When you got there the morning or when?
No.
When did you see it?
I saw it there when I walked in, and because I was at a certain stage in the house, when Oscar was in the kitchen, and I walked towards him and I saw him. That's where he was bending over, trying to throw up, to vomit. But he was trying to, and there was nothing coming out, and he was screaming, and it was this raw sound coming out of his stomach. Then I think I saw the cell phone there.
Okay, let us just try and put that in a time frame. When you arrived there, you and your daughter were the first two people in the house.
That's correct, my lady.
Then arrived Johan Stander.
That's correct, my lady.
After him, it was the paramedics.
That's correct, my lady.
And thereafter, the police.
Yes, that's correct, my lady.
Good. Now,
can I? No, I found it. No, it was police, correct.
Okay. Now, during that time, whilst Mr. Stipp was there, where was the accused?
He was at the scene. I couldn't see him because I was standing outside, but I believe he was at the scene.
Okay, so that time you were outside?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. When did you see him again, the accused? Johan Stipp arrived, Johan Stipp came out. When did you see the accused again?
I saw him when Stipp said to me, "Where's he going now?" I saw him walking up the stairs.
Upstairs. Okay. That's when
walking
you
up the stairs.
He was going up the stairs, your daughter followed him, they came down.
I went in, I asked her where she's, and she went up and they came down.
Is that when you saw the phone?
No.
Okay, so when did you see the phone?
Must have been the period just before the police arrived.
Just before the police arrived?
Yeah.
So before the police arrived, you saw the phone in the kitchen and it was on a charger?
On the counter, yes.
On the counter in the kitchen, and it was fixed to a charger. And your daughter phoned from that phone. Do you know that, or did you hear that
I
from
don't
her?
know. I believe she phoned from that phone, but I'm not sure.
Now, Mr. Stipp, did you know him before this incident?
No, my lady.
When he came out, he went in and he came out and he discussed the injuries with you, is that correct?
No, he just said to me that she had a fatal head wound. He didn't discuss any of the other injuries with me.
Did he indicate to you how many wounds she sustained?
No.
Did anybody tell you?
No.
And not today on the scene? Nobody told you?
No.
Not even your daughter?
I can't recall. I can't remember that she mentioned that to me or said to me anything.
Now, I take it that you followed the trial whilst it was on?
Yeah, I picked up in the newspapers all over. I received the newspaper every morning for the last 18 years, and I read the newspaper every morning for the last 18 years. And yeah, so I did follow newspaper, some of the incidents. I couldn't follow everything.
And
But I
followed on TV a bit?
Yeah, sometimes in the evening, maybe, but I couldn't follow everything that's been said and whatever.
So, before I carry on here, now the defense team went back to the scene on a couple of occasions. Did you assist them in that regard?
No, my lady. Initially, I had the key. There was an arrangement just after the incident that Colonel van Rensburg had the key. When they finished at the house with the investigation, they would have brought the key to me. They did, and I handed the key over to the family. That's all assistance that I rendered to the police.
Since the day of the incident, were you ever back inside the house?
No,
The deceased house? Yeah.
no.
Agter the accused house. So when you spoke to Dr. Stipp, you were convinced that he's referring to gunshots.
I wasn't convinced. He just said he heard 4 shots, silence, screams, and 4 shots. And I believe that was gunshots, yes.
You were convinced it's
Yeah,
gunshots.
I was convinced it was gunshots.
Did you ask him about the screams?
No.
You never asked him anything about the statement he made.
I asked him, what have you heard? Have you heard anything? Because he said he was a neighbor behind, and he said to me, that's what he heard.
And that's all. You
That's
never
all.
discussed it with
No.
him about
Never
how many
discussed.
screams, period
No.
of screams,
No,
if the shots were rapid or not.
no.
You discussed nothing further with him.
I only asked him his cell phone, his number, said if the police want to make contact with him, I can give him his cell phone number. And he left.
Well, you may just have a minute to go through my notes. There's just one other small detail, but you phoned Dr. Stipp later
That's correct, my lady.
and indicated to him that the defense might be in contact with him.
That's
You just
correct.
wanted to check his number.
That's correct, my lady.
Why did you do that?
In my mind, it's the right thing to do. If, my lady, you give your number to me, and I give it to Mr. X, then it's good manners and the right thing to do to inform you, saying, I gave your number to this person, he will probably phone you.
So,
That's the only reason.
so when you phoned him, you already gave his number to the defense.
That's correct, yes.
Who did you give the number to?
I gave it to Advocate Aldrich.
Okay. So, when you phoned Mr. Stipp earlier that morning, you already gave his number to Mr. Aldrich.
That's correct, yes.
Lady, I'm getting lots of advice from everywhere. May I just have a moment to go through all the advice I'm
Yes. Do you want us to take a
getting? Maybe just
agenda?
take a short adjournment, not leave the court, but 5-10 minutes
No,
maximum.
I think we'll just stand outside. Court will adjourn.
Are we all ready to go now?
Yes,
Thank you,
Mr.
lady.
Mayor.
There's indeed 2 issues that I still have to deal with. The witness still under oath,
Yes, you're still under oath, Mr. Stander.
as the court pleases. Mr. Stander, do you know if the accused's house was fitted with an alarm system?
Yes, my lady. It was.
How do you know that?
Because when he left and asked me to look after his pets, he normally gave me the remote control to get access to the house, to feed the dogs, and leave again.
And you would activate and deactivate the alarm system by means of the remote control?
That's correct, my lady.
And on all the occasions that you activated the alarm?
Yeah, you activate the alarm, but you don't hear always anything. You just press a deactivation button, go in, go out, press a activation button. That's all.
Good. Now, you said that the deceased stayed at his house for a period of time.
That's correct, my lady.
That was in December 2013.
That's correct, my lady.
Up to 2012.
Yes, that's correct.
That's December 2012.
2012.
December 2012. The incident was February 2013.
Yes. Thank you.
And that was also, you also met the deceased in December 2013. December 2012.
That's correct, my lady.
And she stayed alone at the house for what period?
I don't know exactly how many days, but it could have been a week. Because they visited our house. He introduced Riva. He said to me he's going down to Cape Town if I would look after his dogs. I said yes. Riva said, yeah, it's about a week, I think.
And in that week you only saw her when she brought back the key?
That's correct, my lady.
You had no concerns with her staying alone in the house?
No, we communicated through SMSs. She's there, she's looking after dogs, everything is fine. She answered me on that.
You did that?
Yes.
Thank you, lady. I have no further questions.
Thank you very much. Yes,
Thank you.
Mr. Oldage.
Thank you, my lady. Mr. Stander, so 3 issues. You testified about a cell phone that you recall having seen on the kitchen counter. Do you remember that?
That's correct, my lady.
Do you in fact know who that cell phone belonged to?
No, I don't know, my lady.
It was put to you in cross-examination that you'd arrived first on the morning in question at Mr. Pistorius' home. Do you recall that?
That's correct. I do, my lady.
To the best of your recollection, I'd like you to cast your memory back to that incident. Were there any other persons in attendance at the home when you got there?
The security guard, there was a security guard, I saw the security guard there in the street, and another person, I think was Frank, who was working, staying at Mr. Pistorius' house. And that's all. And it was me and my daughter who walked in, nobody else at that stage.
So there was a security guard from
Yes.
the estate, is it?
Yeah, correct, my lady.
Now, the third issue relates to what you termed in your evidence to be your interpretation of what you were told by Mr. Pistorius as what you interpreted to have been a mistake.
That's correct.
Now, this interpretation of yours, and the way that you felt with reference to what you call a mistake, did you tell the prosecution that that was your view and your interpretation at any time when they consulted with you?
I can't recall that I ever mentioned that to the prosecution, my lady.
You don't recall that?
No.
Thank you, my lady. I have nothing further.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Stander, just a question in regards to the alarm remote. The deceased, when she returned the key to your house in that during that week period where she stayed in Mr. Pistorius' house, did she also have access to the alarm remote?
To the alarm?
Remote. When
Yeah, she had the alarm remote. She returned it to me.
Do you know whether it was possible for her to activate and deactivate it? Did she know how it functioned?
She knows how to activate and deactivate the remote. Because I asked her which is the right button now to deactivate and which is the right button to activate, and she said to me, yeah. So she knew.
One last question. So when you activate and deactivate the alarm, it doesn't make any beep sound. It's just quiet.
See, I can't, because when you activate and deactivate, you're standing outside the house. And normally that beep is inside the house. And I, for fact, my house, we used the alarm and we deactivated that beep sound on the menu system. So I can't recall that I remember hearing that beep or from outside the house, activate and deactivate.
Thank you.
Are there any questions arising from questions from the bench?
Thank you, my lady.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Stander,
Thank you.
for your assistance. You
Thank you, my lady.
may step down. Yes, Mr. Rowe.
The next witness is Mrs. Phil Yoon.
The witness may be sworn in.
Ma'am, please state your full name for the record.
My name is Carice Beatrice Stander.
Do you have any objection in taking the prescribed oath?
No.
Do you consider the prescribed oath to be binding on the conscience?
Yes.
Do you swear that the evidence about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
If so, raise your right hand and say, so help me God.
So help me God.
God must sworn in, my lady.
Thank you. You may be seated if you so
Thank
wish.
you.
Ms. Stander, your surname at present, what is that?
Pardon?
Your surname?
Currently?
Yes.
Yes, I'm married now. My surname is Fuyun.
At the time when you deposed to an affidavit relevant to this matter, you were still Stander.
Yes, my lady.
You don't reside in the Silverwood Estates anymore.
No, my lady, I don't.
Now, I'm taking you back to the date of the incident, the 13th of February 2013. Where did you reside?
Silverwoods Estate, my parents' house.
In fact, it was your father who gave evidence before you.
Yes, my lady.
And what is your profession?
I'm a legal advisor at VRS, Vocational Recreational Services.
Now, the accused in this matter, Mr. Pistorius, how do you know him?
He's a friend.
When did you meet him for the first time? And what is the nature of your friendship?
I met him when we moved into Silverwoods Estate, and we just had coffee every now and again. He would come and visit at our house. I would go and visit at his house every now and again.
Consequent upon the events that unfolded in this court as well, did you depose to an affidavit? A statement?
Yes, the morning of the incident.
Who did you make the statement to?
To police.
Can you remember who it was?
No, it was a lady, a blonde lady. That's all I remember, my lady.
Was that the only statement that you deposed to?
No, my lady, I also did a supplementary affidavit. And
How did that come about?
Captain van Aert asked if we would be willing to do a supplementary affidavit, and I said yes, I'm willing to do that.
And what steps did you take to make that supplementary affidavit?
We did the supplementary affidavit in the presence of an advocate at his chambers, also in the presence of Captain van Aert. He asked the questions, we answered, and the advocate made notes, after which we then compiled the relevant supplementary affidavit.
I want you to refer you to two photos in album 11. The one is photo 946.
Which one is album 11?
You will see it now on the screen.
Okay.
It's part of Exhibit E, my lady.
Thank you.
I can assist you and tell you that is Silverwood's estate. Is it possible for you to identify the location of your house there?
That's outside my bedroom. That's my parents' house, where I stayed at the time.
We see a balcony on the photo.
Yes, my lady.
Is that the balcony outside your bedroom?
That's the balcony outside my bedroom.
And in order to gain access to the balcony, how do you do that?
I need to exit through my sliding door, which is in my bedroom.
And then you will see on photo 946, you see a little red arrow.
Yes, my lady.
Distance. What does that depict?
That is Oscar's house before they built all the other houses there in front.
I also will ask you to look at photo 951. Is it possible in relation to photo 951 to point out the location of your house or your father's house?
It will be, I think, around over there. Yes. Yes, that's right, my lady.
we will revert to and is it possible on that photo to point out Mr. Pistorius' house?
It will be this house at the bottom here, my lady, yes.
You point with your finger
There we
again?
go. Yes. That's right, my lady.
At the end of the yellow and the red lines. Now, I'm taking you back now to the morning of the day of the 13th of February 2013. Can you remember what time you went to bed?
Probably around 8:30, 9 o'clock. I would have, my lady.
And what happened then from there in relation to this matter?
My lady, I probably would have gone to bed around normal time, which would have been around 8:30, 9 o'clock. I went to sleep. That morning, I woke up from my dog barking. They sleep in my bedroom, and as I woke up from my dog barking, I could hear the other dogs in the neighborhood in the area also barking because my sliding door was open.
Mrs. Viljoen, if I may just interrupt you, it's my mistake. You just give me an opportunity. My lady, I did not mention in the beginning the objection to be televised, but it's part of the court order as a defence witness that she may not be televised and visuals shown, but just in case there's any confusion, I just formally put it on record.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You want me to repeat that?
Please, my lady, if you
Yes, there's an order, no visual images of this witness. Thank you.
Thank you, my lady. I'm so sorry I interrupted you.
Don't worry. No, it's fine.
Could you just repeat the last part?
Yes. So, my lady, I woke up between hours of that morning. My dog was barking. I could also hear other dogs in the neighborhood being like restless and barking. So my sliding door was open and my blinds were pulled all the way up. It was summertime, so it was rather hot, so I'd tend to sleep with my door open at night. I was lying in my bed, like tired, thinking, oh, I'm going to have to get up to close my sliding door because my dog's going to run out to go bark on the balcony, and then she's going to bother the neighbors because all the other dogs keep on barking. Just as I was about to roll out of my bed to go and close the door, I heard a person shouting, "Help, help, help."
You just slowed down a little bit.
Okay. Sorry, my lady, I apologize. So I heard somebody shouting, "Help," 3 times. I then first of all froze in my bed and I thought, oh my gosh, something is wrong, and the dogs were even like barking a bit more. I then decided that I need to get up and close my sliding door because it sounded like something was wrong somewhere, and I was scared somebody is going to climb maybe up onto my balcony and come into my bedroom. So I rolled out of my bed and I got up and I stood by my sliding door. First of all, I dropped my blinds. They were still tilted open, and I then stood by the door and I opened it a bit and I kept my ear there to try and hear if I can't hear where did this sound come from, because I couldn't pinpoint where it was coming from because it was clear somebody needed help. I couldn't hear anything. I closed my sliding door, I latched it, I then closed my blind, and then I got back into my bed. I remember my heart was pounding so fast, I was very afraid, and my dogs were still very restless. So I was first then sitting on my bed and trying to think, oh my gosh, I don't know where this is coming from, and I don't know what to do. And then I tried to get my dogs closer to me again because they kept on barking and they didn't want to calm down. I then slowly but surely settled back into bed and pulled the covers over myself. And I remember I sat upright because my heart was going so fast, and I kept on thinking, how am I going to fall asleep now after I heard that? I was so scared. And slowly but surely my heart settled again, and I was laying down and I pulled the covers over me, and then the dog was barking again, and I had to go fetch her at the end of the bed, and I was holding her just to try and quiet her down. And then I settled back into bed and I pulled the covers over myself, and I was just lying there thinking, oh my gosh, I don't know what happened, and I don't know how to help whoever's in trouble.
Can we just first stop there?
Okay, so
Lady, we're going to the next phase. I see it's 1 minute before the tea time, before I start with the next phase.
We'll take our tea break. Court will adjourn.